Very good evening. Welcome to State of Business on Art Television. I'm Ashinsani Veerasinghe. Let's have a look at the headlines for today. IMF claims sustaining policy discipline remains critical to strengthen resilience and support strong and inclusive growth of the country. Opposition questions on the MCC grant and Minister Partly Champika Ranawaka counter-response. News in detail. The Finance Ministry announces that arrangements have already been made for an emergency purchase of 12,000 metric tons of domestic gas in order to meet the prevailing domestic gas shortage in the market. Nitrogas Company, which comes under the purview of the Finance Ministry, will import 12,000 metric tons of domestic gas and will take steps to release them to the market with immediate effect. Finance Ministry in a statement to the media said that a shipload of gas carrying 3,600 metric tons docked in the Colombo port last Saturday. Another tanker carrying 3,600 metric tons of gas will arrive in the port tomorrow. In addition, another shipload of gas carrying 3,600 metric tons will also arrive in the Colombo coming Saturday, the Finance Ministry says. At the same time, under the emergency purchase placed under the ordinary procurement procedure, 6,000 metric tons of gas will reach the country within next week. The ministry also requests the consumers not to panic about the current short supply of domestic gas, and the situation will be controlled soon. The ministry also said that the Consumer Affairs Authority raided about 40 gas sales outlets which exploited this gas shortage, hid their stocks and sold them at higher prices later. IMF Executive Board completes the 6th review of Sri Lanka's extended arrangement under the Extended Fund Facility Programme. Thus, IMF claims sustaining policy discipline remains critical to strengthen resilience and support strong and inclusive growth, and mobilizing revenue will be central to place public debt on a downward path while preserving space for social and investment spending. On November 1st, the Executive Board of the International Monetary Fund completed the 6th review of Sri Lanka's economic performance under the programme supported by an extended arrangement under the Extended Fund Facility. The completion of the 6th review enables the disbursement of about $164 million, bringing total disbursements under the arrangement to about $1.31 billion. Following the Executive Board's discussion of the review, Deputy Managing Director and Acting Chair of the Board, Mitsuhiro Furusawa, states the country's economy is gradually recovering from the impact of the Easter Sunday terrorist attacks. Growth is projected to strengthen to 3.5% in 2020 from 2.7% in 2019 as tourist arrivals and related activities gradually recover, he further added. However, he also noted that sustained efforts to mobilize revenues will be needed in 2020 to place public debt on a downward path while preserving space for critical social and investment spending. IMF Acting Chair also stressed that the new fiscal rule framework and the establishment of an independent public debt management agency over the medium term will help anchor public debt sustainability. Criticizing that the manner in which the Millennium Challenge Compact Agreement is to be signed by the government, Chairman of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, Professor G.L. Peris, condemns the silence of the New Democratic Front presidential candidate Sajith Premadasa on the crucial issue. Addressing a media briefing this morning, Professor Peris also said that the way the grant is to be signed is suspicious considering its minimal information available to the public.
The Millennium Challenge Compact, which is to be signed with the United States. Now, there are some aspects of this which are causing real concern in the country, to which the leader of the opposition, the Honorable Mahinda Rajapaksa, has drawn attention in his recent statement. The first thing that would strike anybody is that the Yahapalana administration has ruled this country for 4.5 years. And it is at the very last cabinet meeting that approval is sought and given for the MCC agreement. What is the hurry? There is a presidential election taking place in less than 2 weeks. So what is the need to rush this through, especially in a situation where Parliament is not informed of the contents of the agreement? The Minister of Finance is saying that Parliament will be permitted a full opportunity for debate after the agreement is signed. What is the use of that? People of the country must know the contents of the agreement. Parliament must be able to debate it fully and comprehensively. So there are two aspects to this. One is the haste with which this is sought to be done, and the second element is that of secrecy. all of it is sought to be done with minimal information being available to the public. We want to know what the position of Mr. Sajid Premadasa is. Surely he has a duty to tell the people of our country what his stand is with regard to this issue. How can he continue to remain reticent, not saying a word about it?
General Secretary of the Janata Vimukti Peramuna, Tilvin Silva, warns that they will also oppose the government's plan of signing the MCC agreement, keeping the Parliament and the general public in dark over the contents of the agreement. JVP General Secretary said that if it is so useful and beneficial for the country, the present government should leave the matter for a new government to be formed in few months. JVP General Secretary Tilvin Silva, addressing the media on Saturday, said that an agreement like MCC with a US-based company will be a threat to the country's economy and the sovereignty. He stressed that first of all, the government should facilitate for a healthy dialogue in the country over the matter. He further explained that all the previous governments, including the present, have failed providing the general public the real picture of this kind of agreements, and therefore the MCC agreement must be presented and debated in Parliament before signing. He also questioned as to why the government need this to be signed just few days before a presidential election. He added that they are suspicious of allowing a company from the USA to have all the details of the country's state and private lands. Silva also noted that the MCC had stated that its objectives were to address inadequate transport, logistics, infrastructure and planning, and lack of access to land for agriculture, the services sector and industrial investors. He further mentioned that presidential election of a country is not a minor election, and the present government's effort to sign it before such an election is suspicious. He also added that this will also allow the multinational companies to purchase land from rural farmers for a penny. Thus, brushing off the criticisms levelled on the Millennium Challenge Corporation grant, Mega Police and Western Development Minister Partly Champikaranavaka says that misinformation on this grant are purposely shared on the presidential election campaigns by some parties in order to gain publicity. Meanwhile, addressing a media briefing today, Minister Partly Champikaranavaka explained that the grant will be of immense help for the developmental sector of Sri Lanka. The $480 million worth Millennium Challenge Corporation grant consists of grant funds for traffic management in Colombo, road construction island-wide, and land administration improvements covering the whole country. Accordingly, addressing a media briefing today, Minister Partly Champikaranavaka stressed that there are rumours that there will be a wall between Colombo and Trincomalee and that the US Army will enter to the corridor. Minister stressed that this claim is false, noting that the National Physical Plan recognizes corridors as pivotal centralized areas where development can be accelerated through water supply. Minister highlighted that this National Physical Plan is an update of a gazette issued by Wimal Weeravangsa during Mahinda Rajapaksa's tenure in 2008. Minister Ranavaka also highlighted that these developmental corridors will be a roadmap for all the state institutions in planning developmental ventures. Stay tuned for more news after this short break. Welcome back after the break. President of the Institute of Certified Management Accountants of Sri Lanka, Professor Lakshman Watavala, states that Sri Lanka needs a serious solution to progress from secondary to tertiary education sector in order to make Sri Lanka an education hub with technology and demand-driven university courses to meet the job market's requirements. CMA President made these observations at an international conference held in Colombo last week. Institute of Certified Management Accountants of Sri Lanka, together with the Institute of Chartered Professional Managers of Sri Lanka, organized the International Higher Education Conference named Strategies to Bridge the Gap in Higher Education Intake, South and Southeast Asian Experiences last week. The conference addressed the issues of over 100,000 students who are dropped out even after passing the GCE advanced level examinations and eligible to enter universities. The conference highlighted that only 25,000 to 30,000 get places in government universities in Sri Lanka. It further noted that as a result, during the last 10 years, more than 1 million youth have lost opportunities to pursue higher education in Sri Lanka.
There are 165,000 students passing the GC advanced level exam in Sri Lanka. But however, only 25 to 30,000 are eligible to enter government universities. I think all of you should know that the education in Sri Lanka is free from primary to secondary to tertiary and also maybe the postgraduate qualifications. So this is something that has been enjoyed by many, but unfortunately, although free education has been given, at one time we were very happy that we had a very high literacy rate, but unfortunately today the world has changed, the digital revolution has taken place and literacy has been overtaken. So that's why we need the higher education, the skill development to take place and the utmost priority be given to this. So therefore Sri Lanka needs an urgent solution to meet this gap in progressing from secondary to tertiary education sector. A serious concern for any developing country and to find urgent solutions to make Sri Lanka an education hub with technology and demand-driven university courses to meet the job market requirements.
Professor Lakshman Watwala went on to state that if Sri Lanka needs to transform from factor-driven to efficiency-driven, the employees should be competent in technology, foreign languages and in touch with the global trends.
The complexity of competing in the global economy requires not only advanced skills but also a workforce that can adjust to shift in demand. These are appearing in some of the World Bank reports. And if you see that out of the 142 countries that they have evaluated, in the Global Competitiveness Index, Sri Lanka compares favorably with the rest of South Asia but trails behind East Asian countries. If the country is to transition from being factor-driven to being efficiency-driven, its workers need the ability to operate the latest equipment of technology, computer knowledge and fluency in foreign languages to communicate with international clients. So this is a very important thing, and I was just analyzing some of the problems. Maybe if you take the last 10 years, we have not been able to provide higher education opportunities, maybe at least 100,000 per annum, which comes to 1 million, which I think is a very great number considering our trying to be an education hub and also to be skill driven, attract foreign direct investment, which many are talking, because maybe in the 70s, we were able to give the cheap labor, but that is not there. But today we need the skills and the higher education to come in.
Chief incumbent of the Swarnamali Mahachaitya, Venerable Pallegama Hemarathana Thera, highlights that the current crest that has been placed at the Anuradhapura Ruwanvali Saya will be replaced with a new one in near future. The chief prelate shared this information at a press briefing held last week. The decision to deposit a new Chudamani Curve was taken studying the inspections conducted by a group of foreign and local specialists a year ago. Considering the reports of the current crest, it was noted that it is not in a favourable condition since it is tarnished and chipped. Thus, it was noted in the press briefing that the initial construction work of the new Chudamani Curve was already commenced by the Vishwaparami Trust. Blue sapphire and about 4,300 red ruby stones will be embedded in this new Chudamani Curve, which will weigh more than 28 kilograms of gold. Meanwhile, it was also noted that the new Chudamani Curve will be open for the public for veneration on the 18th and the 19th of this month at BMICH before being taken to Anuradhapura on the 20th. Sri Lanka Army Service Corps became the champions of the Sri Lanka Army Inter-Regiment Soccer Finals, beating the Sri Lanka Army's Light Infantry team at the Racecourse grounds last Thursday. The first round encounters took place at the Army Cantonment grounds at Panagoda with the participation of 15 teams. The final match of the Inter-Regiment Football Championship Tournament 2019 of the Sri Lanka Army kicked off last week at the Colombo Racecourse ground, witnessed by Army Commander Lieutenant General Shavindra Silva, Army Football Committee Chairman Major General Atula Kodippili, and a massive crowd of the football fans. The final encounter was between footballers of the Sri Lanka Light Infantry and Sri Lanka Army Service Corps, both teams who shone distinctively beating all other contenders throughout the tournament. After close tussles, Army Service Corps Regiment footballers championed the tournament and carried away the championship trophy amid huge roars of applause and cheers. The Light Infantry footballers were adjudged the runner-up. Army Commander Lieutenant General Shavindra Silva, Army Football Committee Chairman Major General Atula Kodippili and senior officials participated at the award ceremony.
Sri Lanka Army Inter-Regiment 2019 champion, Sri Lanka Army Service Corps.
We'll be back after a short break. Welcome back after the break. Trading at Colombo Stock Exchange ended on a negative note today. The all-share price index dropped 21.9 points to close at 6,010.18 and the S&P SL20 dropped 8.53 points to close at 2,981.81. The turnover was 709 million rupees and over 40 million shares were traded. Up next are Forex rates. That's all the news for today. Join us tomorrow at the same time. Until then, take care. Good night.